The Lighthouse, more like the Bright House. Thank you, Robert Eggers, for making New England so terrifying. You are the reason I'm moving. The Lighthouse is a psychological cosmic horror that draws a bridge between death and sex. My power just went out. Spooky. The two main characters are represented as manly men who don't really talk about their feelings unless they're drunk enough, and they get drunk enough a lot. There's a lot of drinking in this movie. They operate with this power dynamic between the old working man and the newcomer who is always getting messed with, told to do work, farted on.
Sun is over the yardarm. Best find some winks afore the day draws farther on.
Gender is represented through actions. Being a man here means working hard, drinking it all the time, and boxing. The moments of intimacy between these two can jump back and forth between physical altercations, dancing, verbal disputes, and a few affectionate compliments.
Pretty as a picture.
But these are old-fashioned men, so this situation isn't something they understand very much. Masculinity is a major theme here, with the masculine trope of concealing your sexuality. The sexuality of the characters plays a pretty big part in this movie, with young being more visual and obvious, and old being more subtextual. We see young sexuality represented through the mermaid statue and the dreams he has of the mermaid, and the scenes where he's masturbating. And old sexuality is represented through young's perception of old up in the lighthouse. We also see the two men lace up their overalls at different points, almost as if they're getting dressed after having sex. We see old do it when he walks out of the lighthouse, adding to that, whole thing. We see young do it right after beating old up. There is even referencing to the post-sex cigarette. Young mentions that he watched his old boss die, and all he could think about was having a cigarette after.
All I could think when he was done was, I could use me a smoke.
After killing old, he lights a cigarette. And even in the screenplay for the movie, he lights a cigarette after killing the
seabird.
Which we don't see, but is still part of the, sexual tension and the power dynamic on top of old not letting young see the light builds this desire for young to finally see what's up there, and it is built up in a very sexual manner. Tension between these two builds more and more as the film goes on. It honestly feels like at any moment these two could just snap and start killing each other, or start having sex. For non-human characters, we get, honestly, a decent amount. There's the mermaid, who, represents young sexual urges. The mermaid is, half human maybe, or humanoid, but still a mermaid, so I'm going to count it. And then we got the one-eyed seagull, which stands in the way of Young's work and messes with him to the point where he breaks. And while it's pretty implied that the seagull is the lost soul of a sailor who used to be a human, it's still a seagull, so I'm going to count it. And of course, the light in the lighthouse, which is a character within itself, representing desire and playing into the power dynamic between the two. With a black and white movie and a smaller aspect ratio than we're used to, and with the two characters hiding everything from each other, cinematography has to tell half the story. Especially when you can't really get everything they're saying because they're speaking pirate.
Tentacle tail, and steaming beard take up his fell befinned arm. His coral...
The use of shadows and framing in this movie is incredible and makes us feel very claustrophobic, which is a whole nother theme in itself. If you make a movie that looks like this, there's got to be a reason for it. And there's definitely a reason here. The tension of the lighthouse and the sexual mystery of what's up there leads to this horrifying release when Young finally sees it. A release that leads to his death. Truthfully, if this wasn't a story about two sexually confused and depraved men losing their sanity on a rock in the middle of the ocean, it would be a story about a married couple.
I want a goddamn steak! If I had a steak, oh boy, a rare, a bloody steak. If I had a steak, I would fuck it.
You don't like me cooking?
Oh, don't be such an old bitch!